process. Poor Brent doesn't have comms because he's out of the vehicle, and I don't know what I just did, but I just lost my comms with Rebecca. I was laughing so much, Rebecca, over the radio that I accidentally knocked the connection. Rebecca, can you test the comms? It's pouring with rain now. Oh dear. No, I've got nothing. I don't. Okay, good. Well, Ferg can hear you, Bex. I'm desperately trying to cover everything up. I know this is very ill-timed because we've been waiting to show you these lovely cheetah and this lovely light, but the rain is now pouring in. So I'm going to have to shift us around and put one side down so that we can protect our equipment from all of the water, first of all, and so that secondly, I can try and figure out exactly what my comms problem is. I'm so sorry, Rebecca. It was a comedy of errors there. Why are you not working? You were working so well a moment ago. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to unplug and replug. How's the camera doing there, Ferg? Are we getting a little... Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's Rebecca. Okay. I've solved one problem, but I do need to put the rain covers down because it's splashing all over the monitor and my hat. Okay, off we go to Tayla and we'll catch up with you in a little bit. We're back with the lions, and yes, they have just mated. That was very, very peaceful, which is unlike lions, so I wonder how long they've been mating for, and I'm sure this is one of the triangle boys too. I mean, normally it's always so spectacular when lions mate in terms of the sounds that you hear. We normally sit so quietly so you can hear the growling, and there definitely was a little bit of growling. But they're looking tired, they're looking thin, so maybe this has actually been going on for quite some time. We'll be able to time it now. It's 6 o'clock, it was 5:59 when they first mated. And we'd been sitting here since 1:45, so we've been sitting here for 14 minutes. So now we can sort of take it from there. Not that we've got somewhere to start from. It's always difficult when you arrive and you don't know how long these cats have been mating for. But it's just interesting, though, because we were here 2 mornings ago and there was an entire pride of lions around. So obviously they moved off and she, unfortunately, was not allowed to move. And these males would have kept a very, very close eye on her, as they typically do. Some buffalo also moving just in the background towards them. But he hasn't even stared across in that distance. I don't think he's interested at all. Neither does she. And we did find the other male, but we'll show you him a little bit later. He's hiding in a horrific spot down in the lugger. It's very, very difficult to see him at the moment. I wonder how far along she is. I mean, typically mating will last about 5 days or so, but her estrus cycle can last anywhere between 4 and 7 days. She doesn't look like a particularly young girl either. She looks fairly mature. But I suppose from this angle it is a bit difficult. And they're not very close to us either. They must be about 60, 70 meters away. So not like we normally have lions when they're mating right on top of the car. Obviously, in the Mara, there's certain areas where we can't off-road. And this happens to be one of them. I haven't been able to find the sausage tree prides. So it's a bit of a problem to try and get lions up close. Now, a question that's asked quite regularly, and it's from Riti, and it's about why do lions bite, or the male lions bite the back of the female's neck. It's because their penis is barbed. Darby, how old are you? Darby just burst out laughing. And every time he giggles, he makes me laugh as well. It's a problem. So, yes, it's because he does have a barbed penis, and you can imagine that extraction can be quite painful. So it's said that he tries to bite her neck to try and distract her from the pain. I can't confirm this, however. And I remember with all the sort of things we say about lions, of course, it's just theories. It's very difficult to know for absolute certain unless you could ask a lion, why do you do that? Who taught you? Was it dad? Was it just natural instinct? Which is actually quite another good question, is how do they learn, or how do they know that they have to bite the back of the neck of the female? Sometimes they don't do it though. Like there you could see he wasn't particularly interested. But when they are mating, and they can mate up to well over 250 times in their honeymoon period, most of those attempts wouldn't even be successful. So I suppose that's why they have to mate so often. And because the amount of times I've witnessed males mounting females and, well, not exactly performing too well. Well, I suppose then the females, if they're only mated once, would probably have to find a few different males that would be willing to mate with her. Once is not enough, unfortunately, for lions and leopards. Let's see. It's getting to the time now where they might get up and moving. And if they are coming towards their estrus cycle, and that male is definitely looking on the thin side, they could go off and hunt. They most certainly could do so. And there's definitely enough food around for them. Now, Mr. Denton, you're wondering why those buffalo back there are not afraid of those lions. I don't think that those buffalo know that the lions are there, but buffalo and lions are their enemies. You know, obviously lions absolutely love to catch them and to feast upon them. It's a big meal that can last them for a couple of days, so it's the ideal prey for a lion. However, it is also one of the most dangerous things that they can go after. And buffalo kill lions on a regular basis, Mr. Denton. So I don't think they would be too worried either. If they did come a bit closer and maybe picked up the scent, if the wind was blowing down towards them, they might point their noses towards the air and snort a little bit. And if they come to the side of the lugger, they might even chase them away. And that's what I've seen most. I have yet to see lions successfully take down buffalo. I have seen the lions of the Mara on many buffalo kills, so it's not to say that they don't. But every other opportunity I have had to watch them hunt them, the tables have turned and the buffalo have chased away. Big prides of lions too, which is quite amazing. But imagine being the size of a lion, so average weight of a female, about 150 kilograms, a pretty big girl, and for a male, anywhere between 180 and about 210. I mean, there are those exceptions of big males getting even larger than that, but if we're just talking average here. And basically a predator of that size trying to take down something that weighs almost 3 times as much. So thank you so much for all your questions this afternoon. If you do want to ask any, you are more than welcome to have chats with us. Hashtag Safari Live, of course, and you can also chat to us via YouTube. Now you're wondering, what is the typical gestation period for lions? It's very short. It's only about 3.5 months. Can you believe that? 110 days. So you normally don't even notice that the females have got a little bulging belly. It can be mistaken for a belly filled with buffalo. Right until the last few weeks. And she'll normally move away from the pride as well. She'll start looking for a den site, preparing a spot where she will give birth. And eventually she'll go off on her own where she will give birth. And she'll spend the next 2 weeks or so looking after those youngsters and caring for them every single day. That's a very, very important part of a lion's life. They're completely helpless because for the first 10 days or so, their eyes are shut. So they really do rely on mom to move them around a bit. Obviously, they do wiggle about and move away here and there. But mom will be close by, well, hopefully. Now, I mean, I have seen cases where females have just, abandoned cubs before, go off for a few days, hunting. There's no point in going back to your cubs if you've got nothing to feed them. So it's a pretty tough life. But we'll sit here for a little bit because I'm timing. I want to figure out how far along these lions are in their honeymoon period. Brent, however, is staring across into the distance and looking at the plains of Tanzania.
Well, actually, we're staring back to Kenya, and we're with an animal that will not abandon their children for a few days. And it is, of course, the ostrich. We've got a lovely flock of female ostriches, and every now and then you might see some buildings in the background, and that is the final frontier of Kenya. It is the Sand River Gate, the border between Kenya and the Serengeti. Now, the border itself does not lie at the gate. There's the gate, and probably about a kilometer. There we go. That's Sand River Gate there. If you like camping, you can go camp there. That would be your ablutions right next to the Sand River, and you can camp right next there, and there's a buffalo and a water tank. So that is the Sand River Gate. As I said, we've been flirting with the edge of Tanzania, and halfway between that camp and a camp a little bit further to the left. Where's it gone? A little bit more, Seb.
Okay. Oh yeah, sorry.
There we go. That is the Tanzanian Ranger Station. There we go. that is the Sand River Tanzanian Ranger Station. Now, it is an incredible thing because the Kenyan and Tanzanian rangers don't see the boundary. They operate anti-poaching and rhino monitoring over both sides of the river because they understand that the animals don't see the international boundary like we do, and they will cross when they will. So the rhino monitoring and the conservation of the black rhinos in this area is run by both Kenya and Tanzania equally, and when a rhino goes either side, if you are a rhino monitor and you are following, you can cross into Kenya, you can cross into Tanzania. Now, almost in Tanzania, but not quite in Tanzania just yet, is one of my favorite antelopes. Now, I have an absolute love for the Traphalagids, or James says I say it wrong all the time. I'm still going to stick with Traphalagids, which is the spiral-horned antelope. My favorite antelope in the world is a bushbuck, but quite close after them is the biggest of the family, and that is the eland. And we've got a really nice herd, and you can see how different, as Seb zooms in towards the eland, this area is. You've got lots of acacia trees and the short grasses, but look at that. Oh, there's a very frisky young male. Hopefully one of the big males doesn't see you, little man. You'll be in quite a lot of trouble. And you can see the dewlaps on the younger males, that one that's about to walk to the left of frame. There we go. You can see that dewlap, which is a sign of dominance in the males. And it's still quite a young boy, that one. He hasn't developed into a hefty fellow just yet. And I have been trying to look for the dominant male of that herd, but I haven't had any luck yet. He might be beyond the ridge. He might be a Tanzanian eland already. But that is one of the most amazing things about Africa, is the diversity you get in the different areas. I mean, this morning with the 5 boys, we were sitting on areas where there wasn't a tree in sight. It was open grassland. And now we're looking at this incredible acacia woodland that is filled with elands and ostriches. Not that the elands and ostriches won't go onto the open grasslands, but they just happen to be where we are at this moment. Now you can see that the vertical stripes on some of the eland, which is very distinct when it comes to the Traphalagids, if you think about them all. Kudu, Inyala, Bushbuck, Bongo, Sitatunga, all carry those stripes. And eland are the only one that is not a Traphalagus when you say their Latin name. So an Inyala, for example, is a Traphalagus angazi. Sorry, I got distracted by Rebecca there for a second. So a spiral horned, I don't know, is an Inyala. A spiral horned who has been drawn on is a bushbuck. In the Latin name, it is Traphalagus scriptus, which in Zulu the name is Mbabala, the one who's been drawn on. Now, eland are the only one that is not a Traphalagid. They are a Toro tragus. Toro being bull because of their large size. Now, one thing I would really like to see, and I doubt that the musketeers might be able to take them down, but you never know. Maybe a baby would be an eland. Let's see what Jamie's thoughts are on cheetah versus eland.
Maybe a little eland. I guess it's within the realms of possibility if it was quite young. Although I can somehow imagine the rest of the eland fighting back, and I don't think that the cheetah would be able to withstand that onslaught. The eland, of course, much larger than a wildebeest, although I really was quite amazed, or I have been actually, during the amount of time that I've spent with these boys, at the sheer power of them. I confess to having underestimated exactly how powerful cheetah can be. The fact that in the hunts that I've witnessed, it's one cheetah that actually grabs and takes down, or the initial takedown comes from one cheetah, I find quite extraordinary. Yes, the other 5 pile in and they help, but it's the one that actually makes the break for it and grabs the prey. And when you think of how heavy a wildebeest is compared to how heavy these cheetah are, it is quite a fantastic show of strength. It's a wonder they don't injure themselves more. I think it's just because I've never seen cheetah tackle such large prey ever. One of the most dramatic cheetah hunts I've witnessed was an ostrich hunt. They've been quite an education for us, I would say. in terms of behavior, although I believe them to be the exception rather than the rule. So evening is starting to fall here on the National Reserve, and we've survived the worst of the rain, with one side down, which is sheltering us beautifully from the wind now. And I think that's it. I think we've got... I don't know, I've said that about 5 times today, haven't I, Ferg? I think this is it. It's okay. We can roll the rain covers up. No, we can't. Let's roll them right back down again. While we sit in the muddy Mara, off on halfway up the continent, let us send you back across to Tristan, who has done some very interesting tracking segments, and he's got another one for you.
Must be the same one that we keep finding tracks for, man. Right, so we are live, and I was busy talking to VM, and I was trying to work out how we're going to find this animal. But what I've circled here is you'll see that there's a big circle, and then if you look slightly beyond the circle going away from me, you'll see that there's these lines in the sand. Now, I'm pretty sure that this is the same track that we keep finding for a very, very, very special creature, one that we really struggle to find out here, and that is the pangolin. Now, it looks like it's its tail drag that comes down the road. You can actually see it's quite difficult, but when I get close now, and in fact I wish I had the bushwalk camera right now, but you can see fine little ridges of the scales, which I didn't notice before, being dragged along. And then in the circle where I've circled, if you have a look, you can see little kind of indentations. It's difficult to see, it's not easy, but there's little sort of markings there. So there's 1, 2, 3, which are the claws of the pangolin, and then there's a back foot over here. So that's the little front kind of claws touching the ground, and then this area over here is the back foot, and here again, and they go all the way dotted along down into this thicket over here. We did walk around because there's also tracks for Tundi close by to try and see if I can find this pangolin under a bush somewhere, but alas, I haven't found anything. I want to try and just go around to the other side to Vulture's Nest. It's not far from where we are, and just check if these tracks come out on the other side. I drove here yesterday afternoon, and so there was nothing here yesterday afternoon, but this is probably from last night or the early hours of this morning. I don't think anyone drove here, but super exciting and something that we really don't see very often, but I'm pretty sure it's the same individual that we keep seeing. I think it's the same tracks that we keep seeing. I've seen this track now. This is the 3rd time that I've seen this track, and it's all within this kind of Chelapan area, Mulawati area, and so it's just a matter of time until we find it. And I'm going to just double check on Vulture's Nest side to have a little look, and then I want to try and just check in between under a couple of the bushes, and maybe, just maybe, we get lucky. It's a long shot and a shot in the dark, but a very, very cool one. Now, while I'm here and while we just kind of parked off and we're talking about these pangolin tracks, I thought I would show you what I was pointing out, because it's very difficult to see anything actually in the sand itself. So this is the pangolin track that we're talking about. I was talking about the 3 lines, so there they are, and that's the front foot. And so it has these long, long claws, and sometimes those claws will touch and then just drag a little bit, and that's why you get these kind of 3 lines. And then this is the back foot, and this is an actual size of a pangolin track. This is as big as they get, so you can look, if you use my finger as an example of how big their foot is, not very large at all, and you get this kind of oval strawberry shaped sort of back pad, and then these tiny little toes. And if we look really closely at that track, there's a lot of those little toe markings as well along the edge, which is really cool. So something very, very special, and Tundi's tracks, I suppose, are very special too, but, well, I'm too excited to try and see if I can find a pangolin to worry about the Tundi's tracks just yet. I'll keep an eye out for them, obviously, but I want to try and see. Vildi, what do you think about a first prize goal of Tundi with a pangolin? That's... James, you're asking if I've ever found pangolin tracks before. I most certainly have. This is the 3rd time I found pangolin tracks in the last, I would say, month and a bit. So I've been really fortunate. I've seen a lot of pangolin tracks recently, and so... Sorry, Rebecca, can you repeat that again? You just broke up a little bit, and there was somebody on the radio talking as well. I didn't hear Rebecca very nicely, but... Scat, sorry. So no, I haven't seen scat of this animal, but here it crosses again, and this is a lot more clear because I haven't walked all over them and looked, but there you go, there it's crossing the road, and you can see how the tail is going from side to side. So I'm going to attempt to track a pangolin, and maybe we're going to get it right, maybe we're not, but worth a shot. But there it is where it's crossed the road and come out on this side. So I'm going to keep following these tracks and just check. This could be quite fun and quite exciting. It's certainly something that I've never done before, and like I said, I've never seen it scat before. I don't know know what its scat even would look like, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try and have a look and see if there's not a pangolin lying around somewhere here. And I think the best way to do this is going to be probably on foot, and so Rebecca's giving me a little lifeline. And so while I try and negotiate this and see if I can find this pangolin, let's go back across. I actually didn't even hear who, because I'm too excited right now, and I'm a bit shaky because I want to find a pangolin. And so hopefully it will be one of the girls. I think it's one of the girls, and hopefully it will be something interesting.
Good guess, Tristan. Hopefully that was the right pick. We're still sitting with our mating lions, and they did mate so quickly after 12 minutes. For those of you that have just joined us, welcome again. My name is Tayla, and David is bringing you this wonderful footage, and that, my friends, is Maurice, or Maurice, who is just taking it who is just as comfortable, I suppose. You look how comfortable. He's got his sunglasses on, though. Maurice, it's a little bit late. Obviously been on the party and feels as though he needs to hide his eyes today. Unacceptable on a work day. And it's 6 o'clock in the evening here. Not good. Anyways, our lions are sitting up. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. So we've obviously got 2 males, and we know that when you have a coalition of males that will find a female that's in estrus, one of the prides that they see to within their territory, they'll fight for dominance. So they'll fight amongst one another, and whoever is the biggest and the strongest at the time. And that could, be because of a number of different things. Maybe one has had a good meal and the other didn't have quite a good meal, so he's slightly weaker already. Maybe there's an existing injury, or, well, that one is just strongest on the day. And I think, because the other male doesn't seem interested whatsoever in the female. I think that he has already been mating with her, and this fella has jumped on board towards the end of this female's estrus cycle. So I think that's what's gone on over here. He looks pretty exhausted though, but he's thin. So I think this, this added energy that he's having to use every couple of minutes is really taking it out on him. And whether he'll continue mating for another day or two, I'm not so sure. I mean, when she's finished with the estrus cycle, she's going to try and get out of there as quickly as possible. I've never seen lionesses run so fast from males before, especially new males. These boys, however, are well established within this area. I'm not actually sure how long they've been in rain for, but they definitely see a lot of girls, which is quite nice, and that's important for these boys. And it's also important that they don't get too weak, because if another group of young male lions hears all the commotion, the growling from the mating, they could come on in, and these boys could be down and out and could potentially lose their reign. And youngsters could come on in and take over. And there's no shortage of them at the moment. There are so many young coalitions out at the moment that we'd quite like to take on this particular area. We can see clearly how lush and wonderful it is, filled with prey. Who wouldn't want a spot like this? But for now, the triangle boys are still going strong. Jamie has got a view of the sunset, which I don't. Let's go and see that beautiful spectacle.
The sky doesn't even look real tonight. It actually really doesn't. It looks like something somebody's painted. It is, and I'm not even really going to say too much. I'm just going to let you take in the view for a second. And listen to the frogs. The wind's died down. I'm on the same page as Rebecca. Rebecca just said she feels like she's just de-stressed, sitting here in silence with those sounds. Just when it's entirely up to our cameraman to tell the story. Instead, as it should be, says Ferg. Oh, that was quite lovely, wasn't it? Right, and just a quick reintroduction for those of you that have just joined us. And now I've just realised I no longer need this, but anyway, it's one of those things. My name is Jamie. This afternoon, Fergus was responsible for bringing you those really lovely images. I hear he prepared that sunset specially for you this evening, so a big thank you to Fergus. Well done, Ferg.
No worries at all.
It really is. It feels like a fantasy evening. After all that rain, with the 5 cheetah boys under a sunset that defies description. I really don't think it gets better than that. Safari wild man, the question on everybody's mind, the white elephant in the room, and all those sorts of expressions. Not an actual white elephant, by the way, which I suppose could be a bit deceptive on a live safari. You want to know if the 5 boys will stay together for the rest of their lives. I think that is still a question that is up in the air. Personally, I think the fact that they're still together, probably with one of them having mated with a female, possibly with them having killed another male as part of a territorial dispute, I think they're going to stay together. But there are differing opinions on that, and quite a few people oppose that view, and they think that they're going to split into 2 and 3, which would be the more natural, or the more normal number. The average number of male cheetah coalitions will usually have 2 or 3 members. To see 5 like this is unusual. I personally think they're going to stay together, but I mean, let's wait and see. And of course, I mean, unfortunately, we've already spoken about the mortality rates of cheetah. Unfortunately, we say that they might stay together for the rest of their lives, and sadly, it's a fact of nature out here that could be quite short for 1 or 2 of them. If they run into trouble, if they run into the wrong clump of bushes that happens to be hiding a lion, it does happen. I don't think they're going to struggle to come up against any other male cheetah, although you never know, numbers aren't everything. Sometimes experience and age helps as well. I don't know. I think the biggest split or chance of a split would come with a female in estrus. That is something that I would really like to observe, because I think it would be fascinating to see how these boys decide who gets a chance to mate with a female. Yes, Joanna, they would. They would fight with a female, absolutely. And they could potentially fight quite seriously. Typically, apparently, in cheetah coalitions, there's often one member that's more dominant than the others, kind of contrary to lion coalitions, where it's not that clear and it changes from day to day and month to month in terms of who's in better condition. And I imagine, actually, it would be quite similar for cheetah males as well. Who's feeling the fittest? But yes, they absolutely would fight over the females. Okay, well, as the sun sets over to the west of us here in the Masai Mara, let's go across to Brent, who's sitting on the southern boundary, enjoying the sunset view himself.
Enjoying is the exact word. The sight from here is absolutely stunning. As Sebastian comes out, we can even see rain to the far west of us, and we've got these lovely little acacia trees, and you can see there's a funny little sign there, and I'm not going to tell you what the sign says, because Sebastian, for the first time in his life, very shortly, about 6 minutes ago. By the way, Sebastian is my cameraman. My name is Brent Smith, and you are on a live African safari, and you're about as far south as you can get in Kenya, because Sebastian just walked to the other side of the sign, which means he was in Tanzania. Naughty boy, Sebastian. So there we go. There we go. We are as far south as you can get. We are on the boundary, and there's a road that runs between Kenya and Tanzania that tourists are not allowed to actually partake in, so only the rangers use it. So there we go. You are now entering the Serengeti National Park of Tanzania. And everyone out there, a quick little language lesson for you. There's no such place in the world as Tanzania. It does not exist. It has never existed. It shall never exist. The correct pronunciation is Tanzania. So it is one of my pet peeves. It's also you go to Kenya, you don't go to Kenya. It is Kenya and Tanzania, not Kenya and Tanzania. That is how the words are said. So, sorry, rant over. Now, we've got to go through this valley off to the right of us here, and just beyond this hill is the domain of the Black Rock Pride, so I'm hopefully going to get there without too much fuss. And who knows, will the cubs be around? Will they be out hunting? We're going to find out shortly. So while we make our way from the boundary of Tanzania, we're going to go to Tayla. Well, unless she's lost, which is possible because she does get lost quite often, we're hoping she's still in Kenya.
Oh. No, man, Rebecca. I was doing faces at the camera because Darby was testing. Can I go home now, please? That was so embarrassing. Thank you for not saying anything. You're lucky. Okay. Well, anyways, in case you had any doubt that this wasn't live, it's happening right now from Kenya. Tanzania is not too far away. It's just across near where Brent is. I'm only joking. I'm just saying that just to annoy Brent. Rebecca, what did you see me doing? Was I pulling faces and fluttering my eyelashes at the camera? That's so awkward. Why does this stuff always happen to me? Anyways, our lions. Apparently I was just doing my hair, says Rebecca, who's directing today. Oh, so wonderful. Caught me in the act. Anyways, our lions are still resting. They haven't mated just yet, so we were on 12 minutes. Okay, we've jumped up a little bit now. We have passed the 12-minute mark again. Maybe it's going to be 15 minutes before they mate. But I definitely think that's what's happened. And the light's fading very, very quickly this evening, obviously with all the cloud cover. And from where we are, we unfortunately didn't get a sunset at all. The sun is right behind the escarpment, which is a bit of a pity, because it would have been nice to have had some golden light on these two beautiful cats. We will probably leave them in the next minute or so. I don't think we're going to stay here for too much longer. They don't look like they're going to get up and do too much. I mean, that male's hot on this female's heels, and I don't think he's going to let her out of his sight. And it is an awkward spot and quite far away on the lugger, so we will go and try and find the Angamas. Now, here's a question, right, from our beard. No playing around this afternoon. You wanted to know, how often does a male get slapped around that it would draw blood? Well, their claws are super sharp, and of course, when they do swipe at one another, those claws will end up connecting on the skin. So I'm sure it would draw blood as if you were to prick your finger. It might just be a little drop here and there. We might not be able to see because of their coats and their shaggy manes. Every now and then, though, along the nose, where it's quite sensitive, it's quite common to see lions with cut-up noses, and it's normally from the girls. And then, of course, when big males are fighting amongst one another, if they're living in coalitions, or if it's a takeover, then, of course, they're going to have plenty of injuries. But I don't know if I can give an exact, sort of percentage of how often it sort of happens. I think it just depends on how hard they really get hit, and if their claws come out, and all those different types of things. But you do see them around their face with a couple of scratches. Mfumo from the Birmingham boys in South Africa. Oh my goodness, he's forever got scars on his face. I don't think I've ever seen him with a clean face. Just after I started working at Wild Earth, he had that terrible bouts with myiasis, with the flies getting into him and laying eggs underneath a wound which he had quite close to his eye. He was very lucky to recover from that, because it was quite a nasty injury. But he managed to keep it clean. Again, he's nodding off. He's doing classic mom head roll at the moment. And now a question from Anai. Thank you. It's your second one for the day. Well, for me anyway. So it's great to hear from you. You're wondering, would this mating pair hunt together? Most certainly. And you are a new viewer, Anai. Congratulations. I don't know why I'm saying congratulations, but welcome. That's great. And I look forward to getting to know you a little bit better. So don't be shy. Get in all those questions, as many as you can, and hopefully we'll teach you a thing or two, and maybe, if you're lucky, even make you laugh. So yes, they will hunt together. If it's at the beginning stages of mating and they're not particularly hungry, they'll probably give it a skip for the first day or two. Only later on might they go for something. And like I said, I think this is the end of it. I think this is just the other male sort of having a chance towards the end of her estrus cycle. She doesn't seem really bothered at all. I mean, she just rolls over and completely ignores him, completely uninterested. And typically in the beginning, she'd be a little bit on the excited side. She might also be nudging and rubbing heads with that male. Well, it seems as though yawns are contagious this afternoon, though. Now, let's see what happens here. If they walk towards the other road, so a little bit south from where they are, towards those buffalo, that would be good, because there is another road there, and then we can carry on following them. At the moment, it's just a bit awkward. We're in a spot where we're quite far away. Okay, so while I ponder and decide on whether we're going to carry on or not, Tristan seems to be, I think he's bumbling about at the moment. He's the Leopard King. Will he find Shadow, or will he find a pangolin?
Well, earlier I was discussing about finding a thick-billed cuckoo, and we got the challenge about finding a thick-billed cuckoo, and I was saying we need to find Rhett's helmet shrikes in order to find them. Now, we found our Rhett's helmet shrikes, so these are Rhett's, and they seem to be having a little nap. This is obviously where they're going to be roosting for the night. Look a bit dopey, don't they? And one almost seems as though it's sleeping on top of the other one, but they're all huddled together, and probably that will just keep them warm during the night. I wonder if they don't know that there is maybe potentially some foul weather on its way, and that's why they're just hunkering down like this in a tight little group together to huddle for warmth. But you can tell it's a Rhett's just by that red little eye ring and red beak. And so where these guys are, well, thick-billed cuckoos are never far away, and so we'll have to just scratch around. Unfortunately, no further luck with our Pangolin Tracks. We tracked them into a really dense, thick area, and we just lost them from there. I've tried to look around under all the bushes and thickets, but really there's no way to tell where it goes from this hardened section that they were in. So I'm hoping that maybe at some point they decide to come out. So we'll try them tomorrow morning and just double check. There's a little water point here that maybe that pangolin goes to drink at, because they do drink water, and so maybe we'll just have a look there and maybe we get lucky. So that's the pangolin tracking story. I was super excited because I thought, well, these look quite fresh. They were over the top of all the vehicle tracks, and so I was excited if somebody had driven there this morning, but alas, nobody drove there this morning. So it's on top of last night's track, so that pangolin theoretically could be in a termite mound or something like that. Kristen, you're asking if pangolin are territorial. In all honesty, as far as I know, they are. I don't know that much about them, and there's really so little written about them that it's very difficult to find information and find out exactly what the story is with pangolins and whether or not they are. But I would imagine that they are. If I look at the pangolin that is being seen extensively on Elephant Plains and Simbambili, I mean, there's two pangolins apparently, two different ones, and they're being seen on average apparently every sort of week. And in the same place, they keep finding them in the exact same areas, and so I'm thinking that yes, they are territorial, and I don't know whether males will track for females or females look for males or how it works, but that's what I've heard, is that they are in the same place and that they will kind of spend time in the same area and hopefully then find a mate from there. But interesting animals, and like I say, so little has actually been written about them. You can try and even look for information, and it's tough to find a lot of research. The only person that I know that is pretty much an authority on pangolins is a guy by the name of Jonathan Swart, and Jonathan Swart was I'm not sure how to put it, but probably a lot braver individual than many others, in that Jonathan used to go out in the middle of the night armed with a torch and a backpack and a handgun in his backpack, and he used to follow pangolins through the Sabi sands at night on his own. And so what he would do is he would find them and then follow them around in the middle of the night with a little spotlight, and that's it. Which is, if you've heard us talking, will know that that's incredibly dangerous to be out at night, but he did it, and he did it for some years, and he managed to study pangolins and follow their movements and work a lot of stuff out, and he's a bit of an authority on it, and there's a few papers that he's written, and he's a very knowledgeable guy on pangolins themselves. So maybe I'll have to just ask him and give him a shout and see if maybe we can get some more information from him as to the habits of pangolins and what exactly they do. So, Paul, the pangolin population, I suppose it is. I mean, it's the most trafficked animal in the world, and so their numbers most definitely are being absolutely decimated. What baffles me is how they find them. I mean, we drive around here every single day, 6 hours a day. We look, we go everywhere. There's a scrub here, actually, talking about nocturnal animals. But we look everywhere, and we very seldom see them. In fact, I mean, we've only, I think, shown one live on Safari Live, and so they can't be as common as you know they might have been at one stage. But they certainly, it must be a population. If people are trafficking them and finding them, there must be at least some decent population. At the end of the day, look at that. That's pretty cool to have such a close-up. Look how large the eye is of that hare. But at the end of the day, their numbers are decreasing. There's most certainly a situation where they're not increasing. There's far too many of them being killed to be able to survive and to proliferate and be increasing. There's pretty much a situation where they are decreasing. I think that's got to be the closest I've ever been to a scrub hare to know its detail as much as that. Well done, Vildy. You can see the little white tail at the bottom, and there it's having a little snack. Now, these guys are quite interesting. Is when they are struggling to find nice green shoots like this one is, which is very relaxed right next to the car, what they will do is they will defecate and they will re-eat their own feces, and they do that because in the winter months there's not much grass around, and what they do eat lacks a lot of nutrition, and so they have to absorb as much as possible, and what they do then is just eat what they've defecated. And it's much like a ruminating animal, so like an impala or a giraffe or kudu, except it comes out before they put it back in their mouth. It doesn't just get regurgitated from there. So it's a pretty interesting way to go about things. And don't you love how they eat with that little nose going back and forth? And they are super cute little animals, and it's very fluffy and very, very pretty. They're so well camouflaged. When these guys lie in these thickets, it is so difficult to see them. Yes, hello, we're talking about you. It's amazing. This guy is so relaxed, or girl, I'm not sure which one. It's been a long time since I've been this close to a scrub hare at this time of the day. At night it's one thing, because they generally get a bit startled by the spotlights and feel a little bit more comfortable at night. But in the day, you normally find them kind of scampering off, and to be able to get this close, and you're going to come closer. Oh, hello. Seems as though we've made ourselves a little scrub hare friend. Now that scrub hare, I would say, from our vehicle is no more than maybe, I would say, 2 meters. There we go. You can see where the vehicle is and where the scrub hare is, and that is exceptionally close for a scrub hare. That is probably the closest, like I say, I've ever been to an adult scrub hare. Little baby scrub hares you can actually get very close to, because they just sit and freeze, and that's their natural instinct, so that they don't get preyed upon. They back their camouflage rather than their ability to move. But this adult is really coming super close. Like I say, I don't know if I've ever seen a full eye shot of a scrub hare since I've been here, so most certainly there wasn't. So pretty interesting, at least, to see. There's a little white tail, so that will be able to be visible for the little ones if they're following the adults around, or if there's a male or a female together, that they can then see one another, that they have that nice white bright tail. And you see actually how it's sort of tucks in, and then there are those feet that leave those little kind of circular shapes in the sand. And you can see why they leave a puffy track, is because look at how much hair is around the pad there. So all that hair will actually disturb the track itself, and it leaves like a sort of puffy kind of non-defined track. It's not like what we see with the cat paws or the hyena paws or the antelope hard hoofs. Because of the amount of fur on their toes, it just kind of makes a big smush and smudge, and that's why scrub hare tracks are actually quite difficult to see the definition in them. That's super cool. Awesome. Chandler, I like your name. I was actually, funnily enough, watched a Friends episode the other day, and so your name reminds me of that. But you want to know if these scrub hares box like brown hares do? No, I've never seen them box. I would imagine that they must have a way of settling their disputes, but I've never seen them boxing. I don't know of anybody who's seen it. I don't know of anybody who's actually watched scrub hares fight territorially, but I certainly have never seen them boxing in any way, shape or form, and so I don't think that they do. I mean, we see scrub hares as much as probably any other animal out here at night. On your way home, it's pretty much every night you'll see a scrub hare, and I've never seen them boxing in any way, shape or form, so I don't think that they do. Right, well, I think what I'm going to carry on doing now is just drive the Mulawati and hope maybe this pangolin track appears again somewhere here. Maybe Tundi's tracks come out again, because her tracks were pretty much on the same sort of path as the pangolin tracks, and they kind of scent marked a tree. You could smell the scent mark there, but there's no real sign of her coming out. At first I thought it might be the tracks from when we found her the other day, but I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I don't know. I didn't drive there this morning, or yesterday afternoon, and so I'm not really sure if she was there yesterday afternoon or today or what the story is, but doesn't look as though they're that fresh. Right, now while I try and find either one of these elusive animals, because both of them are being elusive, I believe Jamie, who hasn't struggled to find her animal this afternoon, although they've decided that it's time for a very, very large nap.
They do indeed seem to be having a very large nap, and we have switched to infrared because the sun has set, and it is now, I can see them still with my own eyes, but it is getting very, very dark. Now, I suspect that these chaps are going to be somewhere in this vicinity tomorrow morning, so we're probably going to catch up with them then. And what I'm going to do in the not too distant future is move back to those lionesses, because after their stolen meal they seem to be very happy, and they haven't stopped talking while we've been sitting here. They're roaring every couple of minutes. So we'll spend a little bit more quality time with the cheetah boys, and then I think we're going to make our way across there.
They're roaring like the frogs are.
They're roaring like the frogs are. The frogs are very noisy at the moment. They really are. They're making so much noise. They're actually almost overpowering the lions. I know that Tristan has asked whether any of us have ever seen a hare box. I haven't. I've never seen a scrub hare box. No, I definitely haven't. I've seen photos of hares boxing, but not scrub hares. I've seen these boys box, though. They seem to do it on an almost, half-hourly basis. As soon as they start to move, one of them gets too close to the other, and they jump and they start... Cheetah are odd when they fight. And even though I know that it can be quite serious, and I know that it can be potentially deadly in certain cases, it's still... The sounds that they make are just not quite as intimidating as a lion fight. Brent had that extraordinary lion fight this morning, and I haven't seen any sign of those lions today, and we weren't far from where they were. But that the sound effects of the growling and then the roaring afterwards, and cheetahs sort of squeak and squawk. It's difficult to take them seriously when they do that. We're probably looking at the largest stable known coalition of male cheetah in Africa. I have heard stories of coalitions of up to 8. I think, though, that it was probably a coalition that then split. It was probably a young coalition. In this particular case, the one that I read about they were cousins, not brothers, because of course eight brothers would be impossible. And these boys are probably cousins as well. But I've heard stories of that. I've never seen it, and I think that this is probably, I'm not saying for absolute certain, but I think this is probably the largest known male cheetah coalition in Africa. I haven't heard of any others elsewhere. Please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, those of you listening. Perhaps I have missed something somewhere, which is entirely possible. Africa's quite big. It's entirely possible I've missed out on news of a bigger cheetah coalition. This is certainly the largest coalition that I've ever encountered. I've seen many groups of 2 or 3. I've never seen 5 altogether. And this will probably be the largest coalition documented in terms of people actually essentially following them every single day. Ourselves and other guides, photographs on social media, of course the Mara Cheetah Project as well, monitoring them. And I think they'll probably be the most researched cheetah coalition. Okay, we're going to leave our sleepy cheetahs and go off in search of vocal lions. In the meantime, Tayla's got a beautiful sight as the lioness beelines straight towards her.
That's exactly what's going on, Jamie. It's almost like somebody told you. But we have a lioness coming straight towards us, which is pretty cool. I'm just going to dim my lights. It's not just one of them, there are a couple. And before we even spotted these girls along the lugger, maybe about 400 or 500 meters away from the mating pair, we did find some young lion cubs too, hiding in the tree line. But they're quite young, so I didn't want to put any spotlights on them at all. But she's looking back. So, like I said, there is another lion there. Let me see if I can spot her. There she comes. You can just start to see her when I put my light on her. Now, I'm not worried about, of course, putting the spotlight on an adult lioness. And they're not hunting at the moment. I think we might see them playing, in fact. She looks very curious, but they also look very, very thin. And we've seen a couple of buffalo scattered in and out the open areas. And just to my right, which we will go back and show you, because I suspect that that's the direction that these lions are walking in. There must be a herd of about 50 or 60 buffalo walking right past the car. Hello, girl. And of course, we are in black and white now, in case you don't know what's going on. We are in infrared, so I'm not using my spotlight at all now. It's almost completely dark. We're just using the infrared light, so that's why it's coming across this bizarre color. And you're having a drink of water. Lions will drink whenever they can. If they pass a puddle in the road, which is exactly what's happened here, probably a little wallow that's filled up, they will have a drink. Normally after a big meal, first thing in the morning, just before the sun goes down. And maybe they're not even going to go and hunt just yet. Maybe they're going to go back to those youngsters. This female, though, looks like she might be the mother of the cubs. I didn't see any suckle marks on the lioness that just walked past us. I also can't tell you the age of the cubs just yet because they were so far away and I didn't want to put the light on them. But you can see that her mammary glands are quite swollen as she sways from side to side. But she's going to walk pretty much the same route. We'll see if she's just as relaxed as the other girl that's just passed us. Not all lions have to be calm and easy around the cars. Some are a little bit on the nervous side. I find when you head towards Tanzania, to that border, they seem to be a little bit skittish. This one, though, not worried whatsoever. And they've got a huge area to walk around. I mean, they've got a massive open plain on the right of me to go around if they want to do. But they were quite happy to choose the narrow route. Just shows you. Okay, let's turn around. Now I'm going to try and do this without driving off the edge of a lug. I might be naughty. I might go a little bit off. Cool. Let's follow these lions. So, what do you think, Darby? Do you think they're going to go straight back to the cubs, or do you think they're going to head to the beefalo? Darby says they're going to hunt. I think they might pop past the cubs. We'll see. We can't see the buffalo now. They're a bit too far away. And I'm actually not going to put my spotlight on at all right now. Because if those buffalo do look towards me, they might see me illuminating them. So we'll just drive in the dark. Oh, there's some big storms brewing in the distance. You might be able to, every now and then, see the sky light up. Lots of lightning. But still quite far away, so we should be safe for now. Hope that we make it home. And of course, well, as the sun sets, it wouldn't be an afternoon without flying insects, would it? Let's just hope they keep away from me and all the alates have been released, because I don't know if I can take them crawling up my shorts anymore. Okay, so the cubs, I think they might go to the cubs first. I think they're going to go and greet the little ones, or as soon as the young cubs realize that the adults are walking past, because they had their heads peeping up, I think they're going to come running on out here. Let me go around. Just want to make sure that I don't drive any holes, so I'll just put the spotlight instead of using my headlights. Wait, bumping, sorry everyone, on the car. And go around like this. It'll be quite cute. It might be a very nice little interaction that we could see this evening. Okay, so they're just in front of the car now. Now, Hamagan, who is a new viewer, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Great, you're wondering why we're not scared. There's no need to be scared, not even a little bit. And these animals are not interested in us. I'm not trying to get their attention, and they're habituated to the vehicles. You can just see, yes, there the little heads poking out now. I'll put it on that adult. The other girl's walking around. So, yeah, there's no need to worry. Obviously, it's very intimidating having a lion walk past your car for the first time, but I've been so fortunate enough to experience it time and time again. You can see one little cub just poking its head out in the tree line there, that it doesn't bother me at all. And so it is the lion that I was telling you about that looked like she had the suckle marks that's heading back there, so it must be hers. We'll just get a better angle here quickly. We should be able to see them. I think they're going to come. Yes, they're running towards her now. Just to the... Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to take the light off them. I just used it just to show Darby where exactly they'd gone, because like now it's getting really dark and they're quite far away on the tree line. How many she got? 1, 2, 3, 4. Leading them back into the tree line. They don't look very old. Maybe 2 or 3 months old. Maybe a little bit older than that. Maybe 4 months or so. But going straight down into the lugger, and the frogs are starting to chirp now. This female on the left actually looks a little bit disappointed that she's gone that way. I think that's exactly what she wanted. I think she wanted to head towards the buffalo. They're looking a bit on the lean side, but we'll try and keep an eye out on these girls and see exactly where they go. Hopefully they come back out and reunite and start chasing the buffalo around. Tristan, it's getting about that time. The leopard is going to pop out.
Well, we're going to try and see if we can find our 2 male lions. We're just coming towards Chitwa Dam, but I can't actually see them. They apparently are here somewhere. They were left alone and no one with them, but I don't see any lions where we left them this morning, so I'll just have to try and have a look around. In the meantime, we might as well just continue our pangolin discussion, since we were talking about them just now. So I thought, well, I know a lot of you are asking what is a pangolin and what does it look like. So we've got ourselves a picture here, and hopefully you'll be able to see it quite nicely. But there we go. That is what a pangolin looks like. It is a scaly, basically, animal that moves around, or mammal that moves around pretty much at night more than anything else. It's got these hardened keratin kind of scales that protect its body. Then it's got these long claws at the front of its, on its front feet, that it digs with and exposes termites and ants and various other things. And then this long elongated face with a long tongue that comes out, and the tongue can be over 30 centimeters long. It's absolutely massive. And you'll see their back legs are also scaled and armor plated, so that when they curl in a ball, even their legs don't get attacked. Now, sorry, that was my phone that is just gone off, but there we go. That is what a pangolin looks like. Now, Francis from Israel, you're asking, is a pangolin an armadillo? So no, a pangolin is not an armadillo. It is a different animal altogether. An armadillo has a fairly soft shell in comparison to what the pangolin does. The pangolin, if you had to tap on it, it is incredibly hard. It is basically like, imagine your fingernails that has been put fingernail on top of fingernail on top of fingernail on top of fingernail to make a very thick, almost sort of crust that's gone over the top of this pangolin, and it is incredibly hard. And they, even, I've seen lion, I've seen leopard with their claws on it, trying to bite on it, and they can't get through those armor-plated scales. So it is incredibly hard. It's not like an armadillo. If a lioness get hold of an armadillo, it would probably chew through that very quickly and would be able to kill that little animal. Now I'm going to just... Anna Marie, you're asking if pangolins are precocial at birth. Now, I'm not 100% sure. From what I've seen and what I've read about baby pangolins and how things work, is they are born and they're pretty much able to move around straight away. So they're able to kind of slowly move around, but what they do is they actually climb on their mom's back. And so mom just gives them a ride around and keeps them safe by putting them on her back. And as soon as there's a predator, then they both just curl up into a ball and then they try and kind of stay out of the way. So it seems as though they are pretty mobile straight away. I've just never seen a brand new born pangolin. In fact, I've never seen a baby pangolin, so I wouldn't really know how kind of developed they are at birth. I don't know if anybody ever has seen a brand new pangolin. All I know for sure is that if you get to see a baby pangolin riding on the back of a mother, well, I will be the most jealous person in the world, and I know people that have seen it. It is just the most cool, epic thing. You get this little pangolin just riding on the back like it's surfing mom. It's super, super cool. So that's all I know about them. Like I said, there's so little written about them and so little that has been actually published. It's tough to know all of these little things and to know a lot about a pangolin itself. I've tried to read a lot about them and tried to kind of study up, but really little going on. Now, I'm going to try and check around for these lions. They seem to have just disappeared. I would imagine that they're somewhere in this general vicinity, and so while I try and track them down, let's go back across to Jamie and find out if she's ever seen a baby pangolin.
I have not seen a baby pangolin, funnily enough. I don't know many people who have. In fact, I'm trying to think if I know any people who have. The list is not long, I imagine, in the entire world of people who have ever seen a baby pangolin. I know I'd be very happy if I saw a baby pangolin, and I know it would be extraordinary to see one riding on mom's back in the way that they do, but no, I have never ever seen a baby pangolin. So my plan failed, I'm afraid to say. My idea of going to go and see the lions was great in theory, but in practice, that crossing to get across that lugger that we did earlier just looked a little bit iffy to me at night. And being out at night means that nobody will come and save me. Maybe Brent if we ask him nicely, but he'll laugh at me, so I'm not taking that chance. So what we're doing is we're going home the nice way. Ish. Nice-ish way. Still going to slip and slide. Okay, well, we slip-slide our way back towards Bex. The radio's doing it again, just so you know. I'm getting your link to Tayla. Okay, let's try that again. While I slip-slide through the mud. Hold on, not yet. I think we've discovered an innate problem here. Our radios are playing up. While we slip-slide, she says for the third time lucky, let's go across to Tayla, who's got some very cute little lion cubs.
Unfortunately, the lions literally ditched us, as Darby said. He was very funny. He was very punny because they went down into a drainage line. And unfortunately, the way that they're walking, the drainage line bends around. It sort of does a big serpentine, but to a spot that we can't get to. It could take them 5 minutes. It could take them 2 hours to navigate through that entire section. So we're going to move off and see if we can pick up on anything else. This is just because we can't off-road here, which is a real problem. In terms of following the big cats, that's the only real problem. It's quite nice, actually, because at least you know that you are conserving the land around you. So yeah, but it was nice to see them. They look very hungry. Maybe they're going to hunt a little bit later, once they get a bit settled, once it gets a bit darker. And quite exciting. We can come check around this area tomorrow and see if we can find the lions maybe on a kill, but it's just going to be very tough with the very, very thick terrain. So I'm concentrating. These roads are around here are not so great. I think some very heavy vehicles have come through, and obviously this is not a well-used road. They might have got stuck at one point and spun their wheels and dug lots of these little trenches, which are not particularly comfortable to go through. You can lose a person if you hit them too hard. And also I'm driving on the edge of a lugger. I don't want to drive into it. That wouldn't be good now, would it? But along the lugger we could find many different things. We could find things like jennets that have been living up in the trees. We could find hippos coming out of the luggers that are soaked with water. I don't know where the road is anymore. I think it's over here. Let me jump back on that. We could see bush baby, maybe. What else, David? What would you like to see? A serval, leopard laying on the banks up in a tree? What did you say, Darby? Porcupine. I've only seen one porcupine since I've been here, and that was then chased by an Angama lioness. But that's the only one I've seen. You see their tracks everywhere in their diggings. We could definitely see some of those, aren't you? We'll keep looking. Wonderful. Well, it seems as though Tristan's luck has changed again. He's managed to find himself a big lion. I'm sure it's a Birmingham.
Our luck has changed because there lies Tinyo, and his head is up, not like this morning, so he's awake and he's looking around, and he's looking because his brother Mfumo is behind us and sitting right out in the open, and there's an impala that is busy snorting at Mfumo, and so that's why Tinyo is looking in that direction. But it looks as though maybe we're going to see a situation where these boys are going to start waking up and start moving. What's wrong? He keeps moving his whiskers as though something's just irritating his whisker area and giving him a little bit of kind of a uncomfortable experience. Maybe it's some of the flies that are going up towards the gum lines. You do find flies often doing it. They try and kind of get into those gum areas in order to sequester moisture from the mouth. Often when lions have been awake like this and they've been panting and their mouths are open, so saliva develops and you get a situation where there's a lot of moisture. So maybe that's why he's just kind of growling a little bit every now and then. I would imagine Mfumo is still sitting on the road itself because the impala is moving away now. It's not standing upright and actually shouting anymore. Oh, look at that big yawn. Tristan, yes, the males' manes will get darker when they have more testosterone flowing as they become dominant individuals, but there is still a genetic kind of part to it. So if you look at Tinyo, he's got a lot of kind of darkness around his chest and then going over his head and over the top, whereas if we go to Mfumo, Tinyo is going to go to where Mfumo is. He's yawning, which is generally a good sign that he's going to start waking up. Hopefully, if Tinyo goes there, you'll see that Mfumo's mane is a little bit more kind of blonde in coloration. And so there is a lot of genetics involved in it. But yes, as they get older and more dominant, so there's this kind of spike in testosterone, which causes a release of melanin, the dark pigments within there. So, are you in roar for us? He lets out a little groan. Come on, roar for it. No, grooming time first, but maybe if we're lucky and we just spend a bit of time here, we might get a little roar from them. But what you can hear is how rough that tongue is. Now we're close enough just to hear the roughness kind of going through the coat. Isn't that cool? So you know that you are in close proximity to a male lion when you can hear that. And so basically that's acting just like a comb, and he's basically just grooming through his fur, making sure he's getting rid of any of those little parasites that we would have picked up. There we go. Contact call. So he's trying, I think, to contact Mfumo, and he does it because he can't see Mfumo from where he is. Mfumo's not far, but that little call first. Now it's getting a little louder. And it will get louder and louder until one of them responds. So shame, boy, is no one talking to you? See how he stops and listens afterwards. Now this is my favorite sound in the whole world. If these guys start to roar, it is the best sound that you can ever experience in the bush. Now these are just little contact calls, but the more that he doesn't get an answer, the louder it will get and the more it will go up, and eventually we should hear a full-blooded roar. He looks a bit dopey, doesn't he, when his mouth is open? There's nothing coming out. You can't not... So he's opening his mouth at the moment and no sound is coming out, so we need him to actually do a bit of a better effort. But he's still yawning, so I'm sure he's going to get up and move. I don't think he's going to be down for too much longer. The problem is we're not far from the boundary now. So what we've got to hope is that if they are going to roar and that there's going to be a response from the other brother that's with the sticks, is that they move more towards where that brother and the sticks are, because that's more towards Cheetah Plains. So it should take them straight through Chitwa and be a lot easier for us to follow them. No, still not going to give us a full-blooded roar. Rita, you're wondering why the skin color of the Mara lions and those here at Djuma are different. Well, it's probably a genetic thing. There's an evolution process that takes place, and the colors of each sort of lion will help them. I'm just going to keep quiet if he's roaring. Awesome was that is as good as it gets. We were absolutely spoiled because he let it out and Mfumo joined in from behind us. That is just the coolest thing in the whole world. So absolutely awesome. And then I love how he just flops down afterwards. Absolutely cool. Phoebe, you're asking how many lions I think can hear him. Well, if I think about the lions that are around us at the moment, so the sticks females, all three of them, their cubs, one of the other Birmingham males we know is close by as well, so he would have heard that. Probably a little bit out of range for the Nkuhuma Pride, although maybe they might have picked it up. Their hearing is better than ours after all, but I think they're just a little bit out of range. And who knows what male lions are sitting just south of the boundary near Mala Mala, because we're not far from there either. So I would imagine maybe one or two of those lions on that side might have heard them. So in total you could be looking at maybe 30-40 lions that could have heard him if all of the prides that I've just mentioned did, and potentially that's how many lions. But ones that I know for sure that have heard him would be the 3 sticks adult females, the 4 newest cubs, and then the 6 other cubs that they've got, so the 13 of them, and then obviously the 4th or 3rd Birmingham. Right, well, while Tinyo sleeps, we're going to reposition towards Mfumo, and hopefully when we kind of get there, they'll start to roar again. And while we do that, I believe Brent is sitting with lions as well, and I think that completes a complete lion sort of domination between all of our feeds this afternoon, which is absolutely amazing.
3 females from the Black Rock Pride trying to dig out a warthog, and there's a reason I'm not in infrared. It is, as we do with lions, most of the time we don't need infrared on the lions, and the fact that they are digging up a hole, we're not blinding any animals, we're not affecting their behavior. And of course lions are incredibly capable of dealing with light. It actually helps them at night. So they are busy digging out, or trying to dig out a warthog. Now, after the rain we've had, the sand's a lot softer. So look how deep she's going in the hole. Look at that, look at that. Just her bottom showing. There might be piglets in there. Now, these are the 3 mothers from the Black Rock Pride. Now, of course, warthogs have multiple bolt holes. So there's actually females on, if we go a bit to the right there, Seb, on another hole as well. Oh, my hat's in the way. You can see they're digging in. Now, guys, I'm going to apologize. I'm going to have to move the car quickly so I can make sure I have comms with final control. Which all it means is I'm not going to disturb the lions. I got a bit of breakup from Rebecca saying she's going to stick with us. I'm just going to get a little bit higher on the hill, so I guarantee we've got comms with Rebecca. While the lions are trying to dig out this warthog. Now there could be piglets in there, so be warned if they are successful. It could be very, very graphic for sensitive viewers. Okay, Becca, can you try to talk to me? I just want to test my comms in this area to know whether I should stop or not. Okay, I can hear Rebecca, and it is quite broken, but I can still hear her enough to survive. And you can see they've dug quite a lot already. So I think what happened is the lions. What I think happened is that the lions were sitting with the cubs, and they watched the warthogs go down this hole, and now that they have seen them go down the hole, and especially after the rain, they're now trying to dig. Now Rebecca would like to do an action broadcast, so yes, Rebecca, what I will do is ask, once we've started the action broadcast, ask Seb to turn off the presenter light. Not yet, because otherwise I'm going to be covered in fruit chafers. So Rebecca, when you are ready. Welcome to everyone. We are with the Blackrock Pied, the 3 females that have 9 cubs, and they are busy trying to dig a warthog out of a hole. And you will notice that I'm using a spotlight, a white light, and there's a very important reason I'm doing that, is lions are able to deal with the light, so we're not affecting the situation that's happening. So that's the reason I'm using white light, so we can see a bit more. So normally we'd use infrared light if they were stalking up to something, but we have the white light on now because obviously the warthogs are under the ground. The lions are not affected at all by the light. By the way, I forgot, my name is Brent. Sebastian is our camera, and we're live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. Now what I am going to do is ask Sebastian to focus in on the lions. I'm also going to ask him to turn off the light that once we're on the lions that is on me, because after the rain we are... Oh, there we go, something happened. Oh. Now, that amount of dust that just shot out there, it's an aardvark. It's actually an aardvark. It's not a warthog they're after. They're after one of the most seldom seen animals in Africa. It's an aardvark. You can actually hear it beating its tail and digging. I might be wrong, but it sounds to me like there could be an aardvark down there. And the lions are getting very close to get that reaction. Now, if they go down the hole again, you'll actually notice that earth spews out. Something is digging, trying to dig down away from the lions at an absolute rate of knots. Well, I suppose you can't do a rate of knots underground. There we go. Let's see what happens. There we go. It is a warthog. Oh! Hold on. They've just got it. Now, sensitive viewers, the screaming is quite bad. It's a big male warthog. The female is now going for the throat grip. There we go. She's now got the throat. Now one of the reasons the predators go for that throat, I know the sound is really disturbing, is to try shut down that screaming so it doesn't attract unwanted lions or hyenas. I know for sensitive viewers this is very difficult, and a warthog screams are very, very, very hard to listen to, but fortunately it seems like the lioness has got hold of the esophagus and she is going to suffocate it now, and those terrible signs will stop. So I think we arrived at the most opportune time. The lions had been digging for at least an hour to get that deep, and the only reason they're digging into there is because of the rain. Normally the sand would be too hard, but we had massive thunder showers today. Now this is quite gruesome. The lions are starting to feed on the warthog while it is still alive. Oops, sorry. Sorry, I got a bug in my hair. I'm just going to move the car quickly. So, do apologies. Sensitive viewers, please look away, go grab a cup of tea. This is very gruesome. The animal is still alive. The lions are starting to feed on it. But this is Africa. This is nature at its most raw. And we are just witnessing something that would happen even if we were not here. Now, those screams might attract the male lions to the situation. Okay, thankfully, unfortunately, sorry, I thought the warthog was dead. It is not dead. You must realize this animal is in such a state of shock that it's probably not feeling anything. Obviously, it is still screaming in distress, but it is in such a state of shock. The lionesses at the back are already into its stomach. They've probably already eaten its kidneys and its liver, which are high nutrient items, full of iron. Here we go. I think it's not long. As I said, for sensitive viewers, this is very difficult. I do apologize, but this is what happens out here on a daily basis in Africa. Now, these 3 females have 9 little cubs that they have to feed and have to produce milk for. So this warthog will be an incredible source of nutrients for them to be able to feed their little cubs. So we do have a few questions. Sorry, I just didn't catch them there. Rebecca, can you go again? Esther would like to know, would they bite the throat in order for it not to suffer? Esther, unfortunately, lions do not have thoughts like that. They are instinctive beings. They bite the throat to stop the scream, not for suffering, but to stop it attracting other predators, hyenas, possibly nomadic male lions, or even their same coalition of male lions, because these lionesses, and you can see they're really tucking in, they're eating as fast as possible, because if the males heard that in this area, they'll come and take the kill from the females. Now again, this is not for sensitive viewers. This is live from Kenya. This is live from the African bush, and this is lions, what they've been doing for the last 500,000 years. The animal is dead. It is not suffering anymore. And I don't think it's been suffering for quite some time due to the fact that it's been in shock. And there we go. So there's one female still holding on to the throat. I think the animal is dead. She's just making doubly sure it's dead. Now, a big male warthog like this is a very dangerous animal for lions. They have incredibly sharp teeth. Their tusks, their bottom tusks, known as tushes, are as sharp as razor blades. So they are able to actually inflict incredible damage to lions. So they have to be very careful when... Oh, Lioness is looking up, and I said that screaming might attract male lions. Let me just have a quick look with the spotlights around. So far, luckily for the girls, no sign of male lions. Now, Asad would like to know, is it true, is their bite force proportional to the size of prey? I would say to a degree, Asad, and also the bite force depends on the fight that is given by the prey. So with prey that fights more, such as a buffalo or warthog, they will generally bite a lot harder. Now, those legs kicking is not the animal alive, that is just its nerves kicking through. So when something fights more, the bite force will be more than something like small, like an impala or a Thompson's gazelle, that with one bite you've crushed the spinal column. But with something as big as a warthog, now a big male warthog can weigh nearly as much as a lioness, up to about 110 kilograms. A lioness only weighs between 120 and 130, and with those sharp teeth, it is a very, very dangerous prospect for these girls. But they have succeeded here, and it has taken a lot of hard work. Now, some of you are wondering whether we've interfered in the situation. Those lions were digging in that hole when we arrived, and we have just watched what they were doing already. Gerda was wondering why was the one not eating. She was making sure it was dead. She's now 100% sure it's dead, and she is now licking, and she's about to start feeding. There we go, as she goes. Now, a lion's tongue is like really, really rough sandpaper. If it had to lick your arm, it would actually take the skin off. So what she was doing, and she's doing it again just in case, because a warthog is such a dangerous animal, she's trying to make sure that it is absolutely dead before she starts feeding. Now, as I said, it's quite a good meal for lions. It's over 200 pounds of meat. Taryn, this is a very interesting question, and I've been wondering the same thing myself, and Taryn is wondering, will they bring the cubs? Now, we are only probably 300 meters from where the cubs are, and they have 9 cubs. See, there we go. She's just worried the danger the warthog poses. She's going back onto the throat, even though I'm very sure it's very dead. So I'm going to apologize, Seb. I'm just going to put the spotlight where I can hold it more steady.
Sure.
There we go. How's that?
Yeah.
So now we're looking at those tusks. So you see the big tusks at the top. It's the bottom tusks that actually are the dangerous ones, because they rub against the top tusks and become incredibly sharp, almost like a razor blade. So there we go. She's now decided that it is very dead. She's going to start feeding. So now, it would have been any of the lionesses, if they had been the first on the dangerous part of the lion, any 3 of them would have done exactly as she did and gone for that throat hold, while the others continued to feed from the back. And I know this sounds horrible, but lions have no idea about suffering and pain. They are instinctive animals. That meal is going to provide for their cubs, and they don't worry about the warthog's progeny or the warthog's life. This is life for them. Being able to feed on this animal will ensure that they are able to pass on their genetic line, because they're going to be able to produce milk for their cubs, and their cubs are very young, still under 3 months old, and there are 9 of them. Now, we might see some aggression between the lionesses shortly, because lions forget their manners when they're at dinner tables, and they will often beat each other up quite severely, and that's why when they're not eating, they have incredibly close social interactions with each other, and that's to affirm the pride bonds. So far, it's been quite civil between these 3 girls, but that could change in an absolute instant once the food gets a little bit smaller, or, as I say, there's a little bit less food to go around. Okay, what I'm going to do, Seb, let's go back to me quickly. I'm just going to reposition the car quickly. Now, the lionesses are looking, and that's why I want to just check with the spotlight. And that warthog squeals might have attracted the Black Rock boys, the 2 dominant males in this area. So they keep looking behind me, so I just want to use the spotlight to see if those males are coming in. And what I'm going to do is also use the headlight on the lions, so we don't have as much jerky hand as I have. I hope that works for you, Sebastian.
Yeah, it's fine.
How is that? Is that good?
Yes, thank you.
There we go. And this also gives me the ability to check around while you're looking at what the lions are doing, to see if any of the males or other lions are potentially coming in. Now, it's very unlikely we're going to get any nomadic males near here, because this is the core of the Black Rock's territory, and those Black Rock boys, the one-eyed bruiser and the beautiful dark-maned male, will protect this area more so than they will the peripheries of their territory, because they have these 3 females that have 9 little cubs that are carrying their genetic information to ensure that their legacy will last for a lot longer. Now, of course, those squeals might also attract hyenas. Now, again, as I say, to those of you who are sensitive, this is a fresh kill. There will be a lot of blood. So be warned, if you are sensitive to these type of things, please go get a cup of tea. But just remember that this warthog, in dying, has provided the mothers of 9 little cubs an incredible amount of protein where they will be able to produce milk. Sebastian, sorry, can I ask you to turn off the little light behind me? Sorry, there's a lot of bugs around tonight. We've had a lot of rain. John is wondering, where are the male lions? So this is the core section of their territory. The male lions will spend a lot of time here, but they will move vast distances from here, patrolling the edges of their territory, making sure no other males can sneak in, because if another male lion comes across the cubs, and there are 9 of them, probably 400 meters from us, hidden in the rocks, if another male lion came across them, he would absolutely kill them. And so they make sure the boundaries of their territory are very safe, so the females are able to hunt in the core of their territory. If they are close by, being a male lion, there's a reason. There's a cliche called the lion's share. If they are close by, they will come in and chase the ladies off and take the lion's share. But it looks like the boys are out on patrol, and far enough away that they did not hear the squealing of this poor pig, and they have not rushed in. They could still be on their way. You never know. Remember, this is 100% live from the middle of the African bush. We're in one of the most remote areas you can get in the Masai Mara, with one of the most spectacular prides, and definitely one of my favorite prides of lions, the Black Rock Pride. We're about halfway between one of the main camps and the Sand River gate. So we are only about 3 or 4. No, I exaggerate. So we're about 1.5 kilometers from Tanzania. As I say, we're right in a remote corner of the Masai Mara. Now, it looks like the ladies are going to continue munching on their. I thought I heard something behind me. They're going to continue to munch on their bacon for dinner. And it doesn't look like we're going to get any more interaction from the males or what coming in, but you never know what happens. As I say, we are live from one of the most remote areas in the world, the Masai Mara in Kenya, and we have just witnessed something that very few people get to see: lions digging out a warthog and catching it. This has been absolutely incredible. My name is Brent, and my cameraman is my good friend Seb, and we've been very, very privileged to be able to share this with you, even though there were some very gory and difficult parts to watch. This is nature, and this is what happens on a day-to-day basis in Africa. Now, of course, you never know when we might go live again, because we're going to be out following lions, leopards, or cheetahs, or even hyenas. Any fascinating things we come across in the African bush, keep an eye out for that go live notification, because you might see me again in a short little while. Wow, guys, how was that? Wow. Now, I have seen lions dig warthog up quite a few times in my life, but normally I have to wait about 2.5 hours when I get there. We just happened to be here at the exact right time to see that. That was incredible. And of course, now, if I take my spotlight and ask Sebastian to show you, over there. Oh, quickly across to Tristan, I'll tell you the story later.
Well, we're still sitting with the Birmingham boys, and we're still having a situation where they are roaring, and so we thought we'd extend a little bit longer. Here we go. And that is how you end a safari in the evenings. That is the best sound in the world. You can see it's taken it out of Mfumo. He's now decided that that's how he's going to nap, but that was absolutely spectacular. We have been so spoiled. We've been sitting here for a while, and we've had, I think this is the third or fourth roar that we've had this evening. It has just been so special to sit here. And where we are is actually a really great place to hear roars, because it just resonates down this bowl where Chitwa Dam is, and it kind of bounces back at you. It is just the most unbelievable experience. We've been so fortunate to be able to sit here and witness something like that. You can see Mfumo himself. He's looking really good. He's down on the road. He's kind of just taking it very easy. Tinyo is still at the back, still not moving. We haven't heard any response from the other Birmingham that's with the sticks down on Cheetah Plains, so I don't know if he's maybe just keeping quiet because he's with a female and he doesn't really want to attract too much attention. But I would imagine maybe it's Nsuku down that side. We know Nsuku loves to spend a lot of time with the sticks pilot, so I wonder if it's not him in that area. There's also been a few guinea fowls alarm calling, so we might come back in this area and check around tomorrow. Maybe Hassan is around. Unfortunately, though, that is all that we have time for this evening. It's been an absolutely lion-packed, action-packed, insane afternoon. The Masai Mara has been on fire. Sabi Sands had its own unique little things, and to finish off like this is just absolutely unbelievable. So from Brent, Jamie, Tayla, all the cam ups that side, myself and VM and Rebecca and FC, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you on the Sunrise Safari tomorrow.